Well, that was absolutely fantastically fun today because it was one of the most challenging times to get this thing up and running, mainly because I just forgot. Like, whose fault is it except my fault that I just forgot to set up the stream keys and all that kind of funky junk? But at least you and I, Rebecca, had a chance to talk about Stream Deck and all the technical stuff behind the scenes. How are you today? Uh-oh, I don't hear you. Oh no. Gosh. Oh my god. We had everything working and now I don't hear you. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, what happened? So, you know what? I think, let me just see. There's two of you in Ecamm right now. One says you're in the green room, and that's obviously the one. Let me just see. Can I bring you into the green room? Can I? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to disconnect you, and then you'll just pop back in, and hopefully that'll fix the audio. So there, I disconnected one, disconnected two. So, oh my gosh, the fun part of live. Are you here?
Am I here?
See, I told you it would work. I got you. Now I got
Can you
you.
hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Oh my gosh. Can you believe I've been doing this for like almost 5 years now and I still can't get it right? So let's go back to the beginning. How are you, Rebecca?
I'm doing fantastic, Joey. How are
Amazing.
you?
I I'm having fun. It's been a fun day. It's been
Good.
a busy day and a very forgetful day kind of thing. And but hey, I'm cool. While you talk about, I know that you set all this up. This is the first day. Like, okay, so for anybody listening, like I've been on this quest of trying to really buy back a lot of my time. That's kind of been the quest for the last, year. And this week was pretty cool because I hired a new person and it was like all centered around that. So I thought I was like Mr. Cool. I'm like, hey, I can step away from all this, and I literally stepped away from this thing. And I know that you set this up with Lorna, and I'm like, what are we talking about today? And I thought I was super cool coming on here and going, wow, I don't even know what we're talking about. And then I just saw the thing, and so why don't you just set it up and talk about that while I open my phone to see if I can see Facebook comments because I can't see them anymore through the dang new thing. So
Of course not, because Facebook.
go ahead.
WTF, what the Facebook, right?
Yeah.
Welcome to Facebook. That's why I used to say it's, what the F or, welcome to Facebook. Means the same, feels the same. We can all get our emotion wheels out and, track through what emotions we have when we have stuff like this happen to us. Okay. Um, So today what I wanted to talk about was something that I've been working on really for several years, putting different pieces together. I didn't realize I was working on this for years until the last sort of pieces sort of clicked into place. I do a lot of work with real estate agents, entrepreneurs, agencies, financial advisors. And one of the challenges in a lot of these very highly commoditized markets, and this also works for coaches too. So anywhere where what you do is either highly controlled or highly commoditized, the challenge is differentiation. How do you do
Hmm.
it? So with realtors, they'll be like, what's your USP, your unique selling proposition? What's your brand? And they're like, I stage houses and I pay for really good photographers. And I'm like, that's not differentiation. That's just good service, but not a differentiator. And they really, really struggle to figure out how to do that. And then on top of that, in a lot of these industries, you kind of get to the end of your career and you want to retire and you don't want to work anymore, even though you've loved what you've been doing, but you can't because you can't sell a database
Yeah.
because the value of the database is what you put into it. And when you remove yourself from said database, all the value goes with it. And so you can hand your database over to someone else and then hope to God that they do a decent job and then you get some retainers and make some money while you have your retirement. Not everyone does a good job of saving for retirement. A lot of people depend on this, and it's just a complete loss of control. And I think that's horrible. So I
Hmm.
plan on changing it. And so what I have designed is a 3-step process that does a couple of different things. The first thing it does is we build a model. So I created the Profitable Millionaires model for myself, and I have built my entire company around that model. I assign it and apply it to every single one of my clients. It doesn't matter how they come in. It is uniquely applicable, which I'll talk about in a second. But the most important thing about my model is it captures my IP. It captures all the things that I have learned, all the experience I have, the expertise, my training, my certification, and it puts it into a nice, neat package. So I'm like, if you follow these three things, so I do my little triangle. I cannot do the hard hands. I look like potatoes,
Can I
right?
do that?
So
I don't think I can even do
I
that.
don't know. I have to do this. Like there's a heart. Because I don't know what people do with their hands to make the heart thing. Anyway, it looks like a potato. So it looks like a potato. Anyway, triangles
Wow.
are easy. They're very easy. Yep. Welcome to the ADD podcast.
Do
Anyway,
you?
so the
Hey, hold on. Okay, I'm going to throw in another ADD because I know you're going to be able to respond back anyway. Do you watch
yep, I'll just keep my
Curb Your
triangle fingers.
Enthusiasm?
No, I've never
Oh,
watched
okay.
that show.
Anyway, forget it because he did at the end of it. He
Should
was
I?
trying to do the hard hands and anything. So that was my ADD
Oh,
moment.
well, he can't do it. I can't do it. So
Back to
clearly
you.
it's an ADD malfunction. Okay. It's a wiring thing. Don't judge me. Neurodivergent. Anyway. Okay. So triangle models. The triangle model is very simple. So the way that I teach is you have to have your beliefs in order, right? And all pointing in the right direction, right?
Right.
Then once you have what you believe, which is what you think, what you feel, and where your inner compass is pointing. Are you looking at everybody else, or are you focused on yourself and where you're going, right? So those three things, when they're strong, then we move into action. Who do you serve and who do you solve for? What role do you play, i.e., don't wear all the hats? And then the last one is how will you grow? And that's a many-legged spider because people grow in different ways for different reasons. But those are the three main pillars under action. So once you have your beliefs all strong and understood and under control, your actions that are decisive and intentional, then we move into the high performance habits. So we turn all of these things into something that is consistent, that's predictable and sustainable. And then once you go around the horn, you say, okay, what's my next big thing? You apply the model again to that. What do you need to believe? What action do you need to take? What habits do we need to create? And you get up that level and away you go. That's
Cool.
how a really robust model works. And it captures everything that I believe is important for people to achieve the results they're looking for, which is at the middle of my cute little triangle. And so what I tell people is when you have beliefs, actions, and habits, what that delivers, middle of the triangle, is profitability, sustainability, and joy.
Right.
So anyone who is
Yeah.
striving to seek profitability in a sustainable way, in a joy-filled way, in a fulfilling way, this model is going to deliver that. And then I have all my trainings that go around it. I have
So let's
assessments,
talk about
I
the
have
model. Like,
videos,
so
I have everything.
are we talking about like helping other people design their own model?
Yes, that's what I do. So
Okay.
I help people build their own models. We do mind mapping. I do interviews. We do back and forth. We might interview, depending on who else is on the team, we might interview them. There could be even interviewing clients. And so what you're trying to do is you're trying to pull out the essence of
Right.
someone. What
Right.
is it that is really encapsulates what they believe to be the most important elements that lead to the success, their own success, right? So I'm doing this with 3 brokerages and a team.
Nice.
One's a brokerage in Florida, Alabama, Toronto, and a team here in Burlington where I live.
Nice.
And what we're designing is the elements that they, again, will be able to apply to their own existing team to improve performance as a recruiting tool, as a, if you want, it's in the middle of the cool triangle, and these things are important to you, and you ascribe to that, then you're going to attract the right people because and it gives them structure so that when someone comes in, especially with team leads and, really high performing brokers, they're like, just do as I do. And
Right.
then
Right.
nobody knows how to do that. So
Right. Right.
it's like a little miniature instruction manual, and it's a guided process. Go here, 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 keep going around the horn and become stronger and stronger and stronger. Right. And so when
100%.
you have, so what I help people do is to figure out what are the things that go in the triangle. Now, there are options where there are 4. I've seen models that are in the steps of 7, right? So they can be more than a triangle. I just find the triangle model really, really simple. And just to be clear, I did not invent the triangle model. That was Simon Bowen. He is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
I'm just taking sort of his lead and then doing what everyone else does, make it my own, right? So I'm
Exactly.
taking
Yeah. Like
what are the essences of that and extrapolating it and building my own version of the teaching to do that.
yeah, like Simon is like he's brilliant. Like I've taken a lot of his ideas and modeled it, and modeled the model right, and teaching more of a visual way. But I want to just give before I get back, I'm going to get back to that in a second. Just want to give a shout out to New Zealand. Wow, is that AP? How do you pronounce your name? AP? How would you pronounce that? I don't know how you're going to be able to tell me, but
Not even going to
welcome,
try
welcome.
it. She might do a phonetic thing for us.
That's so cool. And thank you for being here. So that's me. So you are speaking their language. Kali is here. Welcome, Kali. Yay for me. You got on. Yeah, I know we were late. So, but it's, by the way, if anybody's joining us now, we were like 15 minutes late, all because of me and tech. So I'm not going to take the entire blame. I'll take 80%.
The solar flares.
I'll take 80% of the blame. How's that? So yeah, I mean, I love models, and I remember like one of the things. This had to be, gosh, at least 6 years, maybe even longer, where I was in one of the masterminds with Giovanni, and we went out wherever we were. We went out to dinner. Or something else, and sitting and the breakout people and stuff. And what do you do, Joey? And I'm explaining what I do and all this other stuff. And I'll never forget. This was like the 5th time I heard it. They said, you got a lot of really good ideas, but you don't have frameworks. And I struggled with frameworks. I'm like, I know, but I can get you there. And they're like, you need frameworks. And that was like the 5th time I heard it. But that was the pivotal moment where I said, I have to start learning how to put together a framework and visual. And now I'm so addicted to frameworks. And building everything, like everything I try to do is visual. Simon was a big catalyst for me as well. 2 years ago, whatever, at the event that I saw him and drawing some stuff out. I'm like, wow, that is like so cool. I got to start doing that. And so now, like all of the stuff I teach is all visual models. And like you said, it's so easy to walk people through the steps of it. So speak more on how this is going to help us with the sellable business part of it.
Well, what it does is it gives you something that is uniquely yours and that has value. So it's not just the database anymore. It's not just the people in the database. It is your way of doing things. So let's say we've got Joey's Realty, right? So this is Joey's Realty model. So let's say down the road, I'm a realtor, you're retiring, I'm in the middle of, growing, and I don't want to grow inchy scratchy anymore. I want to grow by buying a book of business. But I don't want to buy a book of business that I then have to kind of like absorb and, figure it out and all that kind of stuff. What I want to do is I want to pick up a book of business that's already operating. Everybody is already operating in the exact same way. Everyone who's on that team already is operating according to the model. The clients are used to the model. The clients are loyal to the model more so or in equal amounts as they are loyal to the person at the top. So in this case, a realtor or a broker or a financial advisor or whatever. What they want to know is that the level of business, level of service that they've become used to is going to be transported over to wherever the buying realtor is coming from. And this ensures that. And
Okay,
so
so
when you have something like, go ahead.
No, keep going.
I was going to say, when you have something like that, there's an actual dollar amount that you can apply to that because especially when coaches do this, oh my God, like you can pick up an entire business, transport it to another coach, and it just operates like nothing ever happened. Because
100%.
when you are at the top of your organization, when you are the CEO and there's no one else there, people hire you for you. you have nothing to sell at the end of it. And I learned this lesson the hard way when I sold my agency. When I didn't want to do it anymore, I didn't sell it. I handed it away. I'm just like, just take it, because I didn't have any IP. I had processes, I had a couple of campaign sequences, but easy to replicate, not unique to me, right? Nothing that was really special or, in-depth or thought. Everyone hired me for me and my brain. And when my brain was going to leave, that company had zero value.
Oh,
And
okay,
so
okay,
what the
yeah,
model does
yeah,
is it prevents you from having a business with no value without you. Right. So if you
okay,
look at the Dan Martell's buy back your time
yeah,
idea, that's essentially what it creates. But you have to have something. It's not just to have the organizational structure that you sort of hire your way out of it and then pop off the top, which is primarily what Dan talks about. I'm super simplifying. There's a lot more that goes into it. But with the
yeah,
model, you wrap an entire organization around that. You teach your clients to be loyal to the model, so that, and by that, like the level of business, the service you provide, why you provide it, the results that they achieve, which become consistent and predictable. And now that gets really, really addictive. They don't really care who's at the top anymore, because they're like, oh, you invented this? Awesome, you're cool. But everyone in the organization operates just like them, because the person at the top taught people the actual model they follow. So
yeah,
now everybody has an instruction manual. That is where you have value. This is where you create profitability. And of course, when you want to sell an organization at the end, it's a multiples, right? Multiple time profitability, usually between 2 and 3 times profit. So if you have a decently profitable business and you want to sell it at the end, figure out what your profitability is, multiply that by 2 or 3, and that's what your business is actually going to be worth.
yeah. I
If
see.
you don't
I
have a
think.
model, you can't do it.
Yeah, I agree with you totally, because you kind of answered the question I was going to ask, which was, what's the difference between the model and the SOPs, right? And there's a huge difference because the
Massive.
SOP, right? So do you want to speak to that? Because I can speak to that as well, because I've been
Take it
through
away. No,
now.
you go it. Yeah, go for it.
So the SOP is like for the hiring pieces of to move you out of positions of you taking all those things, but someone else can come in and do any job whatsoever by following the standard operating procedure, whatever it is. And so those are important to the business because, again, that's still a big piece of the business. Like you can move your business to somebody else and say, all the way we do things, the daily operations, for lack of a better term, is all documented. Like it's all right there. But add on to what you just said about the model, and it's a complete game changer as well, because from my perspective and from doing Atlas now the last 4 years, not only is there a model, many models built within what I teach, there's also a language, a community tribe language that is from the models. Victory path, prefluence, whatever. It's a tribe language that they follow. And so you're right. I could have anybody, and this still happens even. There's people who are higher level, been through Atlas, 10 times, and they will help someone else just coming in, and they will reference, did you do the victory path? Did you do the dream client DNA? So they're like that. They're following the model. This is what you're talking about, correct?
This is exactly what Josh talking about. And you're actually sort of like getting to the step 3. Models is step 1.
Okay.
It's just step 1, right? But
Okay,
you're
cool.
you're absolutely correct. You still need the SOPs, but along with the SOPs, you need an organizational chart of the future. And that's actually step 3, right?
Gino Wickman,
So,
love it. That's Gino Wickman. That's where I learned that one.
Is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, traction.
Awesome. Oh, okay. Very good. You know what? I must have gotten it from there because I've read Traction, and it must have been like in my like subconscious mind. I'm like,
Right
oh,
away
this is
when you said
awesome.
organizing tribe, I'm like, yep, traction. I think you have it here. Anyway, go ahead. Yeah, I do. Look,
Cool.
this was not set up. My God, you're not going to believe it. Look,
Things.
so it's right on my desk.
Okay. And just because like life is weird, hang on.
There. Look. Just opened up this book, like right about there. The integer, the salesman. Like there you go. See, so we're on the same page.
See,
Talk
I know
about
it right.
ADD.
We are. Okay, so But let me fill in the middle piece before I get into that one. So anyone who's at all interested in what we're talking about, Simon Bowen step 1, traction step 3, and
Yeah.
then in the middle, it's lifestyle design, right? So, and the reason why lifestyle design is so important is because the what you do when you have a model, um, is you now have many choices, and you can do something immediately for yourself now, or you can leave it for future profitability and to sell your organization. So what you can do with the model is you can create an education product, right?
Mm,
So coaching, consulting, online, on demand, group work, speaking, writing, all of those things. But to figure out the deliverability of your model, and if you want to create something like that, and the reason why it can be really helpful is because, especially in markets that are like go up and down like a pair of pants, like real estate, financial services, insurance, mortgages, they're very much affected by economies and politicians and markets and so on and so forth. Being able to weather and reduce the peaks and valleys of your income swings is really great. And so with the model, you can then actually teach it. And the lifestyle design, the step 2, is what do you actually want your life to look like? So I'm helping a gentleman in Ohio build this right now. He is launching a speaking and a coaching practice. So he hired me like 3 weeks ago, and his first talk is Monday. So I'm
wow.
like, well, Nathan, I hope you move fast, because people are going to want to sign up for a coaching program you don't have, because you don't have your model, and we haven't actually got your presentation down yet, and you only have 20 minutes. So strap in. Anyway, thankfully he was able to keep up. But while we're working through this model, I'm seeding all these things of how can we design the lifestyle that you want, because he sells 100 to 150 homes a year. The man is busy. He has children. He has a wife. He has a life. He has travel. He wants to do all this stuff, but he also wants to launch a coaching practice. So then the question becomes, how much time are we going to free up in the real estate part
Exactly.
of his business?
Hmm.
So that's the whole buy back your time. So we apply that methodology. I have my process called ADORE, which is automate, delegate, outsource, replace, and eliminate. So I do the ADORE audit, and then we start moving things off. We start hiring in, or we start delegating if the people are already there. So that's kind of part of this process. And we make just enough amount of time available to him or her based on how much they want to put into this. So people are like, I'm involved, I care, and I want to be a part of the process. Okay, that's called coaching. It's like, nah, I got a bunch of
Exactly.
ideas, and I just want to basically like shut up and listen, take my idea, implement it, see you fucking later. Like, bye. Oops, sorry, dropped the F-bomb already. Oh
It's all
well,
good.
I
So
lasted.
it's
I almost
all
made it
good.
half an hour. Anyway, so sorry everybody. And anyway,
No
so
apologies
that's kind
needed.
of what that is. So that's consulting, right? So if you don't really care about their progress, but you really want to say, if you do this, it'll work, that's consulting. If you love to, to sort of facilitate a large amount, if your whole thing is, I want to get to as many people as possible, that's more group coaching. If you just are like, I just want to promote the snot out of what I do, and I never want to talk to human beings, that's on demand, right? Or you can have some, weekly check-ins or monthly check-ins, right? So that's usually a lower ticket. The highest ticket is consulting, then it's coaching, then it's group, then it's like on demand. And that's kind of how the pricing tiers go. Now, I run a hybrid program. You can combine these things together, but I do this full time. I don't try to run a real estate or financial services business at the same time.
Yeah.
But what that does is it combines one-on-one, right, at a low frequency, and there's shorter meetings, like about half an hour, 45 minutes. I have peer coaching. So on Tuesday, so that's a weekly peer coaching. If you love amassing the ideas of others and you truly believe in the group and the accountability and support, that's for people who love those. If you're like, I just have questions and I want answers, that's Thursdays, right? So you come in, you post your question in Slack, I answer it, and then it's open mic for whatever's left over. And then I have a vault with over 100 videos for people who like to be able to pause me,
Cool.
go get a tea, have a snack, that kind of a thing, right? So you can do combinations of all these things, but you have to figure out how much effort do you want to put into it, how much time do you want to put into this educational product, if you want to do that at all. But one of our guests here was talking about, she's in financial services, so you get it. My husband is a financial advisor. I've seen him go up and down, up and down, up and down. And an educational product will help facilitate and mitigate that, so that you can always have a baseline. Because if you say, for instance, you're like, my standard costs are always going to be, say, $10,000 a month, and you run an educational product of some kind that generates anywhere from 5 to 10,000, you feel okay when the market goes up and down, because you always know your baseline is being met and that you are secure and that you're safe. And that's what you can do only when you have a model, right?
Yeah. So
like
I want to come back to. No, go ahead. Finish.
No.
I was going to say,
I was going to repeat myself.
Yeah, I was just going to say that it sounds like, it sounds a lot like, okay, here's the question I had first. The question is like, so you're doing the model and then you're doing the lifestyle thing, right? Like how does, so what I do is I start out with me first. This is what I teach my model. So I have a model, which is called the Dream Life Model, and there's 4 components to it. And the first part is about you. So I start there first. I start with, what do you want your life to look like right now? I don't care about the business. I don't care about the model. I don't care about anything. I care about what you want first. And then I build the business around the person, because I come from a world of where people build, and I was one of them, right? We build our business and then try to fit our life into the business and all the extra parts, the freedom parts, which never are there. And so you're constantly working. So I start there, and then I move to the next piece, which is the dream client, which is the, who do I want as a person that I want to spend time with forever? Like, it has nothing to do with business yet. It has everything to do with, who's the person I want to be with and spend time with, like this on a Zoom. Don't care what it's like, don't care, but that person. And then comes the business itself, which is, to your point, which is what you just said, is, okay, what does it look like? Do I want to be involved? Do I want to not be involved with this? Is it going to be, and then you decide, okay, that's coaching, or that's hybrid, or that's an evergreen, or whatever, right? And then it's the product itself. Like, what am I going to sell? What is the thing? So I'm kind of doing it back-asswards from what you're doing. I'm not saying yours is wrong. I'm just saying, it's interesting to me to know that you're getting the models. And here, the reason why I'm saying this is I love learning from you. So I'm just like, okay, because what I help people understand and build is that product without having to know what the hell the product is. It's co-created. And that relieves them from a lot of stuff, because I know what it was like for me personally. This is just for me. Is when I was told you need frameworks, I struggled forever to try to get frameworks in place, probably because I wasn't working with the right people. I was trying to do it all by myself, because that's a big thing, right? And then I just didn't put anything out. So the way that I built the frameworks I have right now in Atlas was by co-creating, and they weren't in place. There was nothing there. It was them asking me, what do you mean by this? I'm like, dang it, hang on a minute. And I got my iPad out and I'm drawing things out. Like, does this make sense? And they're like, yeah, what do you mean by this? And so they would challenge me on all of the things. And sometimes it would come to me like, in one of those moments, like the shower moment, or you're waking up like, hey, whoa, well, this is great. Let me teach this. And I've done it a billion times, even on this show, where it's like, hey guys, I just thought about this like 20 minutes ago. What do you think of this? So I love learning in public, rather than trying to have it together and then putting it. So anyway, I'm just another way of looking at it.
That's how I learned too. Yeah.
Right?
I mean, a lot of ADD brains learn by talking, and it doesn't even matter if the person's actually saying anything. It's more like we're just talking. We're talking and we're listening to ourselves. You're like, oh, that sounds like a really good idea. Oh, I should really do it that way. And then we're like, cool, that's great, right? And the other person's like, well, you're welcome. And they may not have said a thing. They may have said something. They're just like, well, that's unique and interesting.
Are you familiar with Pink Sheets?
No, I heard someone say something about pink sheets, but I don't know what they are.
Pink Sheets is like, I think, one of the originators of like models. And so it's Matt, I think it's Matt something. Anyway, and so it helps you understand like how to draw out models. And like I read it many years ago and then revisited now in the last few years looking at it because again, I was frustrated by I don't do these things. And it just basically teach you the different the basic models. Like and there's only certain shapes. There's only like 4 or 5 shapes you can use in a model, and then that's it. Like there's no other, there's nothing else. It's just, and so what is it that you're trying to accomplish? And it's, I'm going to, you know what? I'm going to pull it up while you talk about something, and I'll give you just a synopsis of it.
Let's talk about anything. Let's talk about squirrels.
Oh, I cut you off somehow, so there's got to be something. Let's talk about squirrels.
Oh God, I can talk literally anything. No, so when it comes to running style, there's a whole bunch of things that go into it. There's time, there is flexibility, there is choice, there is money. It's all the things you can say. If you could wave a magic wand and have the life that you've always dreamed of, what does it look like? And a lot of people struggle with that because no one allows themselves to dream, because they feel like if they dream and they don't get it, they will be more disappointed than if they never dreamed at all. And that is the most depressing thing in the world, right? Like, I have goals I have missed by a country mile. But I learned so much while I was doing it. I'm like, I don't want that anyway. That's okay. I'm going to go this way. Woohoo! And off I go. And so when you're designing your lifestyle, it's a lot of mental and emotional resistance that I'm chipping away at. It's like, no, but like, what do you want? Like, let's be specific. Do you want to be like private jet rich, or do you want to be first class rich? Right? Which one do you want to be? And a lot of people are like, private jets would be nice, but they're kind of bad for the environment. So I'll just take with first class. Oh, okay. Well, still awesome, right? Or just have the choice to take first class. Like maybe they want to save their money, but if they wanted to, because they just felt like it on a Tuesday, they could take a first class flight, right? And a lot of people, like a lot of my high performing realtors that are working, they're like, I don't mind the meetings in the evenings. I just want to have the choice to not have to do it if I don't have to.
Right.
Segue over to Joey and his cool model that's now on your screen.
I'm going to put us up here and see if I could get this thing working the right way. So this is, I'm just going through some of the notes here, but like this is the big picture of pink sheets. I don't know if you can see that well enough or not.
I see big picture and then specific and then left brain, right brain.
Good. So you you can see the abstract and logical on the left side. You can see these things, right? Okay,
yep,
cool.
I can.
So that's like they're just teaching you like what you need to hit on models and explanations and things like that. And then the pink sheet kind of looks like this. So it's like, what's the model? You're drawing the model. What's the metaphor that you have? And this hits all of those areas of the brain. So what does the model look like? And then what's your short statement? What is it? Basically, that's kind of what I use as like, what's the name of it? Like, so the dream client DNA, like that's the thing, that's the statement. And then when you go back to, is this going to work? Okay, no, it's not going to work. Let me go back to this guy. Yeah. So when you, then you got that a short explanation, and it's intentionally short because too much of us, at least for me, we explain way too much. So if you can't explain it in a very, very short, succinct way, that's a problem. And then there's a study piece, which is, getting into here's proof of this, and then a story of some kind. And so you can introduce all of this. And this is what I teach in Atlas. I teach a lot of this is here's how you design your, and I won't get into all this stuff, but how you design your models. And like, so here's an example. So like, there's only a certain amount of things that you could use, like squares and triangles or circles or whatever. And I think this really helped me understand how do I portray what I want. So for example, this here, for anybody watching this, hopefully this will help you too. But if you wanted to say like if you do this or this is the model, like the one on the top left is great. here's why you need to do this. This is the type of model. The how model is more of the Venn diagram type of thing. The
Yep.
what is
Kind
the
of
more
genius.
comparison stuff. Here's what you need to do. And so just by learning that, Rebecca, for me, it was like, okay, because I give examples of what's the difference between an ideal client avatar and a dream client. And so I just look at this and go, oh, it's that kind of a model I need to do, because that's portraying to the, or that's referencing on the what part of it. Here's what the difference is, not how, right? Because if I did a Venn diagram, I'm not really sure I could really tell them what the difference is. I could probably make it fit, but it wouldn't make any sense. So anyway, that's just a huge
Yeah.
overview.
And that would be, in terms of what I'm explaining, a subset of the triangle models, which is the model to end them all. It's like,
Nice.
Lord of the Rings, right? The ring of whatever the fuck. Sorry, there it is again.
I've never seen Lord of the Rings, by the way. So I have no idea. I just know that there's a ring thingy that you're
We
supposed
have
to
to
find.
get together, and
Yeah.
I will binge an entire day watching this thing. It's
No
absolutely
thanks.
amazing.
No
Anyway.
thanks. I'm driving. Thank you. None for me, thanks. I'm driving.
Okay, none of that. Okay, anyway, then I don't have a metaphor or a story. I have nothing to do. But anyway, but that's the idea. So there's a model that is like sort of is the overarching, this is everything I believe in. And then
Yep.
you have all those other models that support it, right? So
Yep,
different
yep.
ways, different functionalities, different strategies, different tactics. So the way I get to the one model to, lead the ball is I do mind mapping. Right.
Yeah.
Which is often really, really, because everyone's like, I don't know what I stand for. And so I'm like, well, let's just riff. So I get out my iPad and I start drawing my little things, and I have like stuff going everywhere. And then by the end of it, we get really, really close. And then I'm like, okay, so we're really close because I'm doing this with you. And now I need your heart to do the talking, and you need to finish it. So I leave them off, and I'm like, you have to kind of finish this up, because I was working with a realtor here. And we had two sides, and we're like, nailed it. And the third one was like, yeah, but that's not the right word, right? It sort of encompassed what she was looking for, but there was some resonance coming back with some vibration, like, no, it's not right. Not the right word, right concept, but not the right word. So I'm like, well, you got to go figure out what is the right word, because what we're going to do is we're going to use that to train her team to act like her. So what does that mean? To copy me, be like me, do like me. No one's had a structure to work around. That's what we're going to be delivering, because along with that model becomes all of the other models, all of the checklists, the strategies, the role playing, the scripts, right? Everything, the goal setting, the planning, all gets encompassed into this thing. Now people have something, they're like, oh, that's what you meant. Now I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Great. And then, keep following it. And now you have measurability. So from a performance measurement, it becomes really easy, right? With my model, each one of the three sides has assessments. You take it on the on-ramp when you're coming in. So you have all of your baseline numbers. And then I'm like, if you want to know if you're doing any better, as you progress through this program, take the assessment again, but just take it in like 2 or 3 months.
Exactly.
And let's see, the stoplight, right? So red, yellow, green, there's statements. If you're like, not me at all, you're red. If you're like, yeah, sometimes it's yellow. And if you're like, totally me, it's green. So any reds and yellows, can you move you along? My on-demand training is then also based on those statements. So if you're like, if you were a red for this statement, here are 3 videos that can fix it.
Yep.
Right? If you want to get stronger, so it helps people. It's like, so there's a direct correlation between the usability of the video vault and the assessments. And so, and the progress that they're making. And so when you have the model, now you know what to measure people against. Now you know how to set your performance metrics. Now you know how to build the structure. Now you know how to do the recruiting. And now you have the opportunity for income smoothing in the present term and the short to medium term, whatever. And you know that as you build that and your internal model up, because you can do the education product while you're running your company. Most people will do both. At the end of it, you now have 2 things combined that are going to make what you have incredibly valuable.
Exactly.
Because if you created all this and I'm coming in and I'm like, if I want to grow by a leap as opposed to an inch, I need to buy a book of business. You get to do a valuation on your company and say, this is what my company is worth. And I can take it and bloop, I can just give it to
Yeah.
you, and the whole thing runs and nothing changes because it does not depend on you anymore. And that's a really tough thing for certain types of people, because if they're very attached to their ego and people need me, they need me, Joey, they'll never build a model
Yeah,
because
I
they won't be
this
able to extricate themselves from it.
yeah, and I mean, I'm not there fully anymore. I was that, like they need me. I still believe I'm an integral part of what I do at this point, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm not opposed to letting things go. And like I just explained a little while ago, I see even students, in my case, they're students and clients,
Mm-hmm.
helping other clients by teaching my model within the model
Mm-hmm.
itself. And I'm like, cool. I don't step in and go, holy, hey, I'm the one being paid here, right? Shut
Mm-hmm.
up. Let me
Mm-hmm.
do the talking, right? I
Mm-hmm.
don't do that. I rather step away and get other perspectives. And it kind of it's like the whole Stephen Covey thing. Like that was the whole model, the 7 habits.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he built his entire
Mm-hmm.
business around. And then how many
Mm-hmm.
organizations still to this day teach that exact model? That's it. Like,
Yep.
here's what we're going to do.
Yep.
And there's millions of teachers out there doing that. But that was the real
Mm-hmm.
business. The book was
Mm-hmm.
epic, but the
Mm-hmm.
model of the thing to help businesses grow, 7 habits of success, was
Yep.
the real business, right?
Yep.
And he
Yep.
wasn't part
For
of that
sure.
at all. So,
Mm-hmm.
by the way, if you're here live with us, let us know. Hashtag live, let us know, or hashtag replay. And if you have a question or anything, you want some input, let us know in the chat. If whatever I can see in the chat. If you're on the Facebook right now on the group, I can't see the chat. I apologize for that.
Oh no.
But I can only see the chat from the other places, which looks to be on YouTube or my Facebook page. So you can go there and ask a question, and then I can see them. But from the Facebook group,
Yeah, apparently not.
I can't see them.
Damn you, Facebook.
Yeah, dang
So
it.
so yeah, so basically the where we are now is we have the model, which is step one. We have the lifestyle design, which is step two. Like, what kind of life do you want to lead? And that's like, it's a bit of a chicken or the egg. And it
Yeah.
doesn't really matter which way you go. What matters is that you cover all those things, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what do you want? And then what have you got to offer? What is unique to you that no one can ever take away? And again, the impetus for me behind this is not just because I had an agency and I had to just give it away because I hadn't been careful to develop an IP. But I also get fanatical about having something no one can ever take away from me. And that's because I've had so many things taken from me,
Right.
in, growing up in the cult and then leaving it and then being on my own and, so on and so forth. So, people who have that desire to say it, but I want to be in control, they often insult themselves by calling themselves control freaks. It's like, no, you're not a control freak. You just want to be in control. And that is totally okay. But being in control doesn't mean you do all the things. It
Right.
means you control the environment. And when you have a
Right.
model, you can do that, which then leads to a much happier lifestyle. And now you have more freedom. So you're more likely to let go of things, which is going to bring more joy and fulfillment into your life, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So then
Love
the
it.
last piece of the puzzle, to fit things into, reference, if you're here at the end, talking about the book Traction, is building the organizational structure of the future. So I created, it's pretty hilarious. I might actually just leave it like this and like never ever actually make it prettier. This is my organizational chart of the future. It's like scribbles,
Love
right?
it.
Like right now I'm like somewhere in the middle here, and I've got these 3 positions filled, but the rest of this stuff, it's still like to be filled. But the nice thing is, because I figured out these are all the positions I need, and as I grow, I have positions of managerial ownership and oversight, and eventually that's me popping out the top. Right now, I could, if I want to, just keep going and woo, I'm just out entirely, and I hire someone for this position too.
Mm-hmm.
Sayonara. But that's what Dan
Mm-hmm.
Martell did with his SaaS Academy. He
Right.
just hired someone as a CEO, and he's like, peace, and I'll see you guys
Yeah.
later, right? Right now he does his elite coaching because he's like, well, that sounds fun. And
Yeah.
apparently you can hire him to work one-on-one with you for the year for the cheap, cheap sum of $400,000. Woo! All right, so you too can do that too. Anyway, but the nice thing is when I look at this thing, I'm trying to get to the screen, even though no one
There,
can read it, and
there
really,
you go.
even if I brought it up close to the screen, it's my chicken scratch. But the point is, I know exactly who I need to hire next and
Nice.
exactly how big I need to be in order to be able to afford and need that next person. So I've got these 3 positions. They're all support and admin positions. They are doing what I need them to do. And they are going to be able to be that way until I hit a certain size. And then I'm going to switch and I'm going to hire these people over here. And I'm already starting to cultivate these relationships, right? And then once I get big, then we have managerial positions, right? And then once I get even bigger, you get the COO position who manages the people, because I don't really like people that much. And then I can either stick at the top or I can pop myself right off and go do something else.
Yeah.
If
Yeah,
I like
it's
this, I
brilliant.
like this. I don't have to leave my company if I love it so much and I just want to keep doing it and maybe expand into other areas. Run a TV show, launch 16 podcasts about 16 different topics if I really, really wanted to. Or I could work for 2 hours and then that's it, right? So it's totally up to me. But when you have the organizational chart of the future, it's your roadmap. Because a lot of people they get really, really frustrated. They're like, well, I don't know when to hire or who to hire or what to hire them for. And I don't really know. And then they make bad hires. And then they're like, oh, hiring is stupid. I'm like, no, hiring is not stupid. The way you did it was stupid.
Yeah,
All
one
due
of the
respect.
things that to that point, I mean, it is challenging to a degree, especially when you're an entrepreneur. Like I'm the only one who knows how to do this, right? I've been in that mindset forever. Not now, but I mean,
Yep.
it's getting better.
I was there too.
And
Yep.
so what I want to share with everybody too is like my journey of this, because I'm still I'm going through it. I'm going through the process of, well, here's my first couple of hires, and the organizational chart. Even though I've read the book a couple of times, have not really put pen to paper to do that. Thank you for bringing that up, because that's what I'm going to be doing as soon as we get off this call. So thank you for the homework. But the whole point is that where was I going with this? Oh, the hiring of the person. What I learned from Dan, it was Dan and also Nick Sonnenberg. Anyway, was the SOPs, and then there was another one which is Work the System. I forgot who wrote that. There's 3 books that have been my Bible for the last year, and those are the ones: Work the System. Nick Sonnenberg has Come Up for Air, and then Buy Back Your Time. And they're just Bibles. They're sitting on that and just consolidated all of the stuff together. And like, here's how I'm going to do this. And even back 4 years ago, Mike Michalowicz was another one who when I first understood about the camcorder method, which I think he called it that as well. Like Dan made it really, really popular.
I think Dan referred to him. Yeah.
Did he? Okay, so cool. So we're learning from the same person. So that's when I first heard the camcorder method. I tried it. I'm like, this is not for me, because I was in the mindset of, this is going to take me forever. Like this 10-minute task is going to take me 30 minutes to actually press record, and then write out the SOP, and So I'm like, I'm not going to go do this. However, I adopted and became addicted to it. It's part of now. It's such an ingrained habit, because you just talked about habits a little while ago in your model. It is such a habit, Rebecca, that everything that I do, it's kind of like a motor skill automatically now, that it just goes right up and presses record on Snagit or something, and I'm recording. I don't even think about it anymore. Every time I'm doing a task, I'm recording it, whether I'm going to use it or not. And I've come up with now, I think there's almost 300 SOPs since January that I've done of just me recording. Yeah, 300.
Yep.
And
That's a
it's
lot.
just like,
But
holy crap. And some of those, like, not a lot, but some of those are like 30 steps that I would never have imagined. It's 30 little things to do for that one thing. And so that is freeing for anybody who's listening to this. That is completely freeing, not only for me, but even for the person I just hired this week. It was like, man, like, what do you want me to do? I'm like, here, go here. It's on this page. Go check that out. Everything's right there. The video and what to do, and all, it's all there. It was so easy. And so the hires become easier when you get everything out of your head.
Yep.
right? And
Absolutely. Yep.
that's where it all begins, at least for me. Am I on the right track here?
You absolutely are, because you need those to be able to hire people in, right? Because
Yeah.
if you don't have the SOPs, then you can't grow the organizational chart according to your organizational chart of the future. So what you're doing is you're making your growth seamless and easy and transferable, right? So that when you're ready to hire, it's just smooth as butter, right?
Can I can I cut
And
you off for 1 second because I wanted to get this
you
out.
can.
I know that you're cool with this. When it comes, at least for my journey now, because I'm in it right now, and at least for my journey of this, when you're actually doing hires, I'm learning to get better at actually hiring people and getting the description or whatever you want to call it, the job description or what I need people to do.
Job description. Yep.
Okay. And so what I do now is, because it's another part of a habit where every time someone asks me a question that I have to think about the answer, I don't want to think about that again. So I record it. In other words, so even when I'm getting a pushback or something about something, can you explain about this job description, or can you clarify this thing? I'm like, okay, cool. And then like I know you have a Google form where you ask some questions and, do these things. And as soon as I'm asked that question that they needed clarity on, what do you think I do? I go to the Google Doc and I put that in there. Or even if it's something to the effect of, I'll give you an example today. This is an example where I wanted to get on a Zoom call, and the person said, not really sure I really want to do that or whatever. I'm like, okay, that kind of pisses me off. Like I need to have someone to be able to get on a call, right? So that's a qualification for me now that I never knew I had. So it was like, now that's going to be part of the questionnaire of like, hey, are you willing, do you have these qualifications and communication? Are you going to be able to go into Slack? At a moment's notice, would you be able to go on Zoom? I don't expect you to wake up 3 o'clock in the morning on your phone, but blah, blah, blah. Like, so for anybody listening to this, make sure that you start recording all of those things down so that you get the absolute perfect person for you. What do you think about that? Any input, insight on that?
Absolutely essential, and you will waste so much time without it. One of the biggest mistakes I've seen people make when they hire is they're like, well, I don't want to hire because then I have to train them. And I'm like, then you're hiring the wrong person?
Right.
Like, what are you doing? Like, I hire people sometimes not based on the skills that they have, because those can be just taught. I hire them for their mind. I hire them for
Right.
their wiring. I hire them basically. I'm being very nice and saying I don't hire people with ADD, because I don't need
Right.
another one of me. I don't need
Right.
another one of me, because we're like, oh my gosh, if someone's got mild ADD, I might be able to swing it, but like, so I look for people with the kind of my attention to detail, because I don't have that. And I'm a bucking bronco. I'm going to do a billion different things, and y'all better be okay with that, because if you don't, and I had to have like 2 conversations today with my team where it's just like, do you still want this? Is this still what you want? Because if it's not what you want, this is the time to say it. But this is what I'm looking for. Do you understand? This is the model. This is the direction. This is the org chart. Show it to them again. But I always give people the choice. Like, is this still the horse you want to be on? Because it's not getting any smoother of a ride. I love to invent stuff. I will always be inventing things. Not everybody's comfortable with that. They need something a little bit more pedantic and predictable, and I am neither of those things. And they're both like, yep, we're in. And it was awesome, because it was confirmation to me I hired the right people. Even though the skills needed some work, we ran into some bumps last week, right? Where some things weren't done, or they weren't done properly. They weren't done using logic. And I was just like, what the heck? But I knew that I could, as a leader, I could correct those skill-based problems, because the mind and the wiring was perfect. It was still the right people for the jobs that I wanted them to do.
100%.
And so the building the organizational chart of the future, the map is just the beginning. The playbooks, the SOPs, that's what gives it strength. That's what gives it flexibility and speed, and and all that kind of a thing. And speed and inventiveness is survival in entrepreneurship, right? Taki always talks about, Taki Moore, my coach, always talks about that. Like, just, we got this feedback, we've been listening to it, and so we're doing this, we're experimenting, we're trying it because we've been listening to you, and we're going to see how this works, and there we
Right.
go. And I've sometimes been criticized for that. Not, again, even some of my clients don't like it when I change. But the whole thing is you can change when you have your SOPs and everything is smooth, because you're taking what already exists and we're like, this piece needs to be smoothed out because there's a little
Yeah.
bit of a bump right there.
Yeah. And
And
you're
if
right.
you
Like,
don't have that mapped out, you don't know what you're fixing. You're like, there's a blob of a task and I don't know what's broken. And so again, you get clunky, you get slow, you hire the wrong people, or you set them along the wrong path.
yeah. And you're right about speed, because like there's two sides of that coin, and the good side of the coin is that speed equals more success, because and going back to the SOP, let's use that as an example. So the SOP, like you said, you go to it and then you look at it and say, how much of this can we eliminate? Like, you're trying to eliminate steps. You're trying to get it to be done quicker and faster, and so that so that your competition can't keep up with that. That's where their speed comes into play. You're always trying to do things faster, easier for everybody involved, and that's why it's really great for us, because you and I are pretty much bookends. Like, we're exactly the same the way our brains work and all these things. So it's really cool. That's why I love having conversations with you, not only because you're an epic human, but because like you just think like me, and whatever you've been through, I'm gonna learn from. And I realized that when I give my SOP or my recording to somebody, that's another thing I learned, which was like, I used to take the recording and then strip it down and write out all the stuff. And like, no, Dan's like, let someone else do that. Let them watch it and write out all the steps, because they're probably going to see something you don't see. And you shouldn't be doing that anyway. I'm like, okay, cool. And then I had to also let go of, well, this is the way I did it. And then so Rebecca picks it up and she does it, and she does it something different. And all of a sudden, you didn't do step 2. Like, you moved step to 2 to 3. Like, why did you do that? Like, that was, believe it or not, it was hard to let that one go. Like, okay, if that's the way you're going to do it, then that's the way it's done, right? And somebody else might come along and do that again, or change up that SOP. So it's kind of always this living document that people are always getting like better at doing those things. Now, the other thing I wanted to ask you about was, let's talk about this for a second. So I think everybody needs to hear this. Is that it's so important, at least from what I heard you just say, and the way that we operate, the way that our brains work, that we need a certain person to be on the receiving end of it that can handle it. And as well, that we have to be able to receive the way that they're coming back to us. Now, I'll give you an example of this, because let me ask you this first. Are you a person if you're a team, would you rather have them, would you rather them make a decision, go and do the thing, and ask for forgiveness, or like they made a mistake and they say, I kind of did this, didn't work out, like, sorry about that? Or would you rather them come to you and say, here's what I'm thinking, can I go do this? What do you think? Should I go do this? Which one of those do you land in?
Oh, that's easy. Go charge on, do it, and ask for forgiveness afterwards. As long as what they were doing was well thought out, according to the model, according to the program, like with the best interests at heart, and it didn't work, but they swung for the fences to try to say, I think this is better. As long as it didn't like contradict, because there's a whole bunch of like, fine swing for the fences, but if there's just like, hey, Rebecca, I think your idea is stupid, so I'm going to go do my own thing, right? If, however, it's my sell by chat script and she goes off script because she's like, I want to be more human.
Yep.
So I'm not going to wait for Rebecca, but I'm just going to go in there and do it. And that's what my staff did today. Her name is Darlene. We had a conversation this morning because it felt like a little bit stunted and copy pasty, that kind of a thing. So I expressed to her, I'm like, this is kind of where we need to go. And I realized I needed some leadership things to kind of, I needed to spend more time with her on like me, my core values, my clients,
right,
qualifying and all that kind of a thing. But in the meantime, she just went in, she understood the assignment, and she went back into the conversations that I had pointed out. Like, it just went cold, right? Because the response didn't quite match. Like, it looked like a bot that was a really stupid bot.
Yeah.
And she just went in and fixed it. and started the conversation. She, like, hey, you know what? That was kind of a whoops. My name is Darlene. I'm Rebecca's assistant, and this is what we're trying to do, and this is what she's trying to get across. Would this be of interest to you? Oh, and no, I can't do that because I'm wicked pregnant, about to pop, and blah blah blah. And she just went back and, oh, congratulations, that's so wonderful. Like, if ever you need something, we're here. And oh, thank you so much. And it was perfect, right? Was it a client? No, but was it exactly the humanistic element that I'm trying to get across? Absolutely. That all the time in the world for. If I say, we're going to do this, in this particular way for this particular outcome, and someone's like, that's stupid. Like, say I'm saying we're going to run a Facebook ad, and they run one on TikTok, and I'm like, what? Because there was a specific reason for the one way and not the other. Then that comes up against some problems. But at the same time, it might work. And maybe that route works better. And so I'm able to kind of go, okay, like, walk me through the logic here, because I wouldn't have chosen to do that, but that doesn't mean it's wrong. So let's look at it. And just because you did it and it didn't work doesn't mean it was wrong. It just means it didn't work. Right. Because I build transformative teams. I'm like, we are here and I want to get there. I give absolutely zero rats behinds how we get there. To see that, that PGing of my language there, doing so well. Only took an hour and a half. Anyway, so, like, I don't care how you go from here to here. What I care about is that we get there. Like, Fabi on my team, I told her I use EchoSign. I don't want to use it anymore, but I don't know what to use. But here's what I needed to do. I push one button and they get access to Kajabi. They get tagged in Keep. The notifications go out and they get an agreement. I want to hit one button.
Right.
And she built it.
Right.
In a program I'd never used before.
Right.
But she'd used it, right?
But all you needed to know is how to push one button.
Bingo jingo, and it still works. It's still a beautiful thing, right?
I get it.
And so I love flexibility. I need them to feel safe to try things, because otherwise, how can I make them feel safe when I try?
100%. Yeah, that's one thing.
I don't feel safe when they do.
Yeah, and that's kind of, I'm learning that part of it now. Like, that's my journey. And by the way, we're talking about journey. Thank you, Collie, for the journey. Listen. Oh yeah, we just had a conversation on Monday, right? Was it yesterday? Wow, it's like Monday, long time ago. Yesterday.
What day
that's
is
how
it?
that's
Oh
how my
my
day,
gosh,
like these last 2 days have been, Rebecca. It feels like it's already been a week. Not bad. It's been really great.
Been a year for me. Yeah. Oh no, mine has been like a roller coaster.
I love it. So thank you, Collie. I can't wait for that to come out, because we had an epic conversation with Collie and her her podcast. Drop the podcast name inside here, Collie. Let us know with that, and heartfelt gratitude to Rebecca as well. Good to see you here, Collie. What I was going to ask is, so I want to just touch a little bit more on bringing on people, because what did you just say? There was something that, like letting them do their thing. So I'm in this zone of, when I ask you that question, would you rather have permission or would you rather have, ask for forgiveness? And I'm leaning on the ask for forgiveness piece, even though I hate when things break. But there's a dominating force, feeling, desire that I want that actually helps me decide which one it is. And the dominating thing is that I don't want to make decisions. I just want to stop making decisions, right? So in order for that to happen, and I'm sharing this with everybody so they can see this, like, oh, well, I don't want you to be coming to me every single moment and say, Joey, what do you think of this? Can I do this? Like, Rebecca, just
go away.
I got too many things already to decide. Just go do it. And then so and that has to be the deciding factor of, like, well, I guess that I'm just going to have to let that piece of it go and be okay with them making mistakes or whatever that is. So that was at least my journey of understanding on how to move forward with not only letting go, but like, no, it's got to be everything. It's got to be my cake and eat it too. Can't have that, Joey.
No,
can't have that.
You really can't, and a lot of people do, and they struggle with that. But you have. So when I say, oh, I'm a control freak, and I'm like, no, you have anxiety, right? And you lack leadership skills. So the two things combined is what someone calls, that they have a control freak problem. But it's actually a leadership issue. So people who are like, oh, step aside, I'll just do it because I can do it faster. They lack leadership. And so this week when things were going wrong, and I was just like, screw it, I'll just do it myself. And I'm like, hey, some coach I heard recently said that's a leadership problem. And so I had to like self-talk my way out of it going, okay, where am I lacking leadership? Where am I not providing what is needed for them to have the clarity and the courage to do what it is I need them to do within a ton of flexibility, right?
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because, I've sort of cut you off, but I mean, you just gave me another breakthrough. Like, I never really saw it as a leadership challenge. And, I like leadership and this and that, but I'm like, am I really a leader? Like, do I really want to be a leader and all that stuff? And that goes through my head. And I see the leadership books and I'm like, I'd rather get a marketing book over a leadership book. But now it's a whole different paradigm. Like, wait a minute, in order for me to do this, I need to become the leader that I want to be, not the leader that I have in my brain right now, not the Bill Gates with Microsoft, not that, but what is the leader that I want to be in order to grow my business? Am I?
And it's tough.
Growing?
It's a tough thing to do because absolutely, you are growing. And it's a tough role to step into when you're so used to doing things yourself, right? And they go well, and even if they don't go well, at least you know that you were the reason. And chalk it up, and then away you go. When someone else makes a mistake, you instantly go into, I wouldn't have done that,
Right.
But we don't, and that's a false sense of security that we provide to ourselves. And people make that assertion, and then they're like, see, hiring doesn't work. Coaching doesn't work. This doesn't work. That doesn't work. No, self-leadership is not present, right? Leading your people isn't present. And when you don't have leadership, either for yourself or for others, then you will doom yourself into overwhelm, overthinking, and quite frankly, burnout, because you have falsely accused others of not understanding or not doing what you asked them to do, when in fact you were unclear with expectations. You did not give proper direction.
Yes.
You did not give them the quality control measures and metrics on which to determine did they or did they not perform at the level you were looking for. You became an absent leader. You walked away and just said, let's see if you sink or swim. I have seen so many people do that. I just want to see if they can step up. No, you're a dick, right? So when you walk
and that
away
goes
from
back.
Your team,
Yeah, you can't. You're right. Like,
sorry.
and that goes back to the SOPs, though, for me at least, because it's like, right. So like, I'm recording the thing, and I'm like, here's how I do it. Here's the thing. So it could be maybe clearer a little, maybe, but it's like, so a lot of the mistakes that have come up now, it's, did you watch the SOP or did you go and read that? No, didn't do the. Okay, then.
Okay, that's a problem,
right?
That's the person you hired problem. Your leadership would have been, did you give them parameters that made sure that they knew that was an expectation, right?
Yeah.
And if you did set the expectation, and you did set the qualifications, and you did set the deadline, and you gave them the clarity, and and they didn't perform, wrong person, out you go, bye-bye.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's one of the things where I'm learning, like, as I grow, what are the things that frustrate me, and what do I need in place of, because that, like, I would be making the same mistakes, and that's what I don't want. And so now when I'm looking for the operator or the main personal assistant, that kind of thing, a lot of those things have to be in place where, look, you need to be a forward thinker. You need to be this. You need to be, and are you familiar with Kolbe? I'm sure you're familiar with the Kolbe assessment.
No, but it's not the first time I've heard about it. But
Okay,
I don't
so,
know all the assessments. There's like
wow,
a zillion of them. There's like colors and animals and spirits.
You totally got to go and get a Kolbe assessment. It's like $25 or something. And if you want a really good hire, then the Kolbe assessment will tell you, like, who you are. Like, it's bang on. It's like, it's incredibly accurate. And then it shows you where there's no real weaknesses. It's like, these are your strong points, and this is where you just need to fill in this other person. So you're looking for people to fill the gaps. And even when I'm working with coaching clients that were married couples, I both had them do that. And then they were like, Joey, this is this is absolute gold, because now they understand each other in a way that they never did. Because, oh, no wonder,
Oh
that's
yeah.
why, right? She gets up in the morning and wants to do this, and I don't want to do that. And now they understand it because they can read their Colby chart and say, oh, that's why you're like this. That's why you're like that. So if anybody's listening to this and they want to hire, that's one of the first things that you do is like, I know my Colby. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to my Colby, and it'll even tell you stuff like, you shouldn't be making decisions or whatever. It'll tell you that. So I'm like, okay, so then that means I need somebody to make decisions. Or you shouldn't, I don't know, you shouldn't do mathematical problems. Okay, then I need a mathematical person, right? So it already understands what the gaps are that I just need to fill. And if I'm doing a job description, just copy the thing and say, I'm looking for this. And it's super simple.
Yep. And what I also layer on top of that is wiring. So at some points you need a neurodivergent and sometimes you need a neurotypical, right? When do you need which one and for what? Like if you need something really hyper focused, don't get an ADD person. Just don't. Bad. Very bad.
Yeah.
But if you need a creative person, like the most ADD crazy person you can find, like find them. And you'll know that because they never shut up. They interrupt you all the time. You and I interrupt each other all the time.
All
And
the time.
We don't care because we're ADD and because I expect you to interrupt me and you expect me to interrupt you. It's great. We're fine.
Yep.
We'll probably drive everyone else crazy, but like we're having a great time. And so
It's so true.
but that's how it works, right? Like you hire for the wiring and then you look at the skill and then you look at the personality. And then when all those boxes are checked, you've got the perfect person. And it's not going to be like a guarantee, like home run, but you have a greater likelihood that it's going to actually turn out really well. So, so when you look at all the things we've talked about, like you have the model, you have the lifestyle, and you have the organizational chart of the future. Each of these things have many subsets. And you're going to have a different subset and you're going to have maybe a different grouping or a different order. But essentially, that's what we're looking for. How do we create something uniquely ours that is marketable, sellable, and valuable that no one can take away from us? This is ours and is something to be proud of.
Love
what
that.
kind of a lifestyle do we ultimately want to lead? And what structure do we need to build to support all of those things so that it actually happens and that we have that security and we can see how as leaders we need to step up and grow. I know my loving people thing is going to have to get a real good freaking workout when I start to actually hire more people, right? Because I have to actually, talk to humans on a regular basis as opposed to just, not. I mean, and talking to clients is different than talking to my team because they stay and then they got to like deal with me, right? Maybe I should just have like therapy as a benefit. But never know. Takes a village. But yeah, so those kinds of things, these are the things that I talk about. These are the things that I preach. These are the things, they're the core of my coaching program, right? The Profitable Millionaires Club that I created, the core of it is to deliver this value to people. And I'm having crazy success with it. I've only been up and running for 3 months. But I'm so proud of the people that have already gone through that. Not everyone's created a model. Everyone's sort of like, they're not at the model yet because they're still trying to get room to even build it, right? Their businesses need to be a little bit more, high performing for them to get to the model stage. And then, we rock and roll from there.
Right.
But that's always where I'm going. Like even when we're just like trying to get an admin hired in just to get stuff off their plate. Because right now they're turning business away because they're so busy, right? Like let's get that because it'll always be a distraction. I can't get them to build a model if they're distracted about all this other kind of stuff over here, right? So
exactly right.
It's never the same process, never the same.
I know the feeling. Rebecca, this has been amazing. Thank you for being here. It's like it's so great to have you here. And thank you for bringing insight to the one thing I take away is leadership. I take away there was another thing that I know that I'll go back to the recording. I know there's something else.
I was going to say, thankfully, this was recorded.
Thankfully, this was recorded. I'll go back. I really appreciate you. Is there anything that, you want to say before we jet off for another week?
I really need to prepare for like my final statements because it should be like, as Confucius said, peanut butter sticks to the roof of your mouth. And just let that be my sort of like parting message or something stupid like that. No, joy is what I'm always after. Never having something that can be taken away from you. That should be everyone's goal in life. That's why I don't work for other people. So I work for myself. But that's why I also make sure that my team knows that what they have is unique and wonderful. And let's build that so that can never be taken away from them. So even if we don't work out, they have actually created a little micro model for themselves, and they know their value. They know how to determine it and how to describe it so that their next employer is going to be, a better match. Because then you don't have anxiety. When nothing can ever be taken away from you, it's a very calming kind of a feeling. And that's really what I want for anybody. That's why I build these models. That's why I focus on designs, why I build the organizational structures, because that delivers something that can never be taken away, ever.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. Thank you for this amazing conversation. Again, we will see you. We'll see you next month probably, because I think we're booked in for
probably.
Yeah, whatever it is, we will see each other again.
I'll be back.
And we'll see you. Thank you for watching us every Tuesday night for Heart Centered Marketing. And it was great seeing you, Rebecca. Bye, everybody. Thank you for watching. Have an amazing, amazing night.